Welcome back to Appropriations 101. In this session of Appropriations 101, we're going to study the Homeland Security Subcommittee and their jurisdiction and what they fund and the challenges they face. Homeland Security funding is about 3% of the discretionary funding. 3% of the discretionary funding, which is only 28% of the overall funding of the federal government. That means that of the overall funding, they fund about 1% of that is funded in Homeland Security. So people who think we spend a whole lot of money in Homeland Security and other things, it's not that much compared to the overall funding, as I've said in the past with our discretionary spending. The chairman is Mark Amodei from Nevada, sister state to Idaho, and we have a lot in common with Western states. I think you are the most publicly owned state in the lower 48, aren't you?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
How much public land is there in?
About 85% of the states owned by the federal government.
Yeah, and we complain in Idaho about 64% being owned by the federal government.
We're trying to get to where you are.
Yeah, no kidding. But so we have a lot of issues in common. But Mark was an attorney and born in Carson City, Nevada, and served in the Nevada State Legislature for a number of years, and then came to Congress and has been a valuable member and a common sense member that tries to do the job that people send him here to do. And I've enjoyed working with him. And he was chairman of the legislative branch appropriation, which has its own issues.
Yeah.
But he jumped from the frying pan into the fire, because one of the more difficult bills for us to write is the Homeland Security bill. It deals with a lot of important agencies and sometimes some controversial agencies. And so, Mark, tell us a little bit about what Homeland Security bill funds, what the agencies are you fund, and what are some of the challenges that you face?
Well, first of all, thank you for the part that you did, you and Tom Cole, the chairman, when it came time to figure out who was going where. I wasn't in the meeting, but I was the benefit, if you want to say that, of when the chairman called up and didn't say, "Where would you like to go?" He said, "You're going to Homeland." And my first thought was, what the heck did Simpson tell him? But anyhow, it's it's not TV material or anything else like that. It's just a lot of blue collar work. You've got Border Patrol, you've got ICE, Customs, you've got the Secret Service, which nobody cares about these days. You've got the Coast Guard, you've got FEMA, just kind of an interesting hodgepodge of stuff that needs a lot of attention, a lot of work to try to get the policy right in terms of their funding. So obviously border and border related things are on everybody's minds these days. And then when you fold Coast Guard into it too, since there's a lot of issues regarding coastline with the border in the country, and so they're folded in there. And then so you're trying to basically say, what are the needs, what is the technology, what are the personnel, how we do it on, like many organizations, most of these are personnel intensive, which means, are we taking care of our folks so we can retain them, so we're not constantly looking for and retraining new people. And so I'll say this, there's not a lot of glamour in it, but it's a lot of, I enjoy the responsibility. But it's stuff where it's like, hey, you got to get up and turn the crank every day and answer questions, because as you know, from your experience, it's like, how come you guys are spending so much money and blah, blah, blah. So you have to be kind of light on your feet in terms of going, well, comparatively speaking, and this and that, and here's what they asked for, and here's what we gave them. But this is one of the ones where what the administration asked for in this last budget cycle, we ended up giving them more, because we didn't think it was, and we had to take from other agencies, as you know,
Right.
to do that. But it was like, we don't think this is a good time to be dialing back on the border or Homeland Security. One of the other agencies is CISA, so that's cybersecurity for the civilian sector. And so that's your utilities and your private sector folks, trucking companies, other businesses that are getting held up for cyber ransom and stuff like that. So never a dull moment.
Homeland Security is actually one of the more important bills that we actually deal with. They're all important, but it also makes it one of the have more controversy in it with a variety of things, because everybody has their own idea about what Homeland Security really means and stuff. And the Department of Homeland Security was created after 9/11. And we took a lot of different agencies and put them together because there was too much stovepiping going on and we wanted them all in one agency. I think people are looking back now and saying, did we make the right decision with some of these things?
Right.
As I've started to hear with the controversies of the Secret Service recently, they ought to go back to Treasury or something like that. I don't know if that solves a problem or not, but I think that's something that when you make a major decision like we have, you ought to review it as the years go by to see if that was the right thing or if things were done better. And I know that you delve very deeply into the funding for these different agencies and stuff and what they're requesting and what's necessary, because we're trying to make sure that we're not overfunding some of these agencies.
Right, and you know, I couldn't agree with you more that you should always go back and take a look to make sure if this is the right thing to do, but that's come up. Coast Guard got put in there, used to be part of defense.
Right.
Or no, it used to be part of commerce.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then Secret Service was part of Treasury. So we haven't gotten too far into that because there's been plenty to do now before you get into those higher elevation decisions. But I guess the question that we always look at for that stuff is, I'm not interested in protecting any turf, but it's like, so tell me how we get better if Treasury is now in charge of protection for the president.
Right.
You know, and oh, by the way, it isn't just the president, it's other foreign dignitaries, you know, their mission is whatever. And so, if the time comes, then obviously we'll engage and give our 2 cents worth and see where the where the chips fall. But on a lot of that stuff, it's just, well, if you think we're not bringing the right focus, but you know, Mike, you look at some of the things right now where you're saying, well, who should the FBI be? Should they really be part of the Department of Justice? I think a lot of that revolves around, is the agency in the spotlight and is it controversial? And so obviously that's one of the cards that gets played always is, we're gonna put you someplace, you know, we're gonna send you to the principal's office and fix your wagon. You know? But for now, it's nothing that we're not up to. We just went through some pretty contentious stuff in terms of what do you do for the Secret Service to get them through the election and through the inauguration. And I was proud of the work that the staff on the committee did. 2 things from the chairman's office said, we're looking to you guys, it's your job, you generate the product and then come tell us why. And then the staff for the subcommittee did a phenomenal job of putting us in a position to ask relevant questions, not politicize it, but it's like, we're not buying off on the, you never want to waste a good emergency.
Yeah.
Because you can get stuff, it's like, I think people have had enough of that, so.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's, I do think it's important to re-examine a lot of these decisions that we have made in the past. As an example, in Interior, and you sit on the Interior Subcommittee with me, Indian Health Services.
Yeah.
I've been talking to a lot of tribes, and a lot of them wonder if that's the best way to deliver health services to the tribes, or whether it would be better with direct appropriation to them and that kind of stuff. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm certainly willing to investigate it, and that's what we should be doing, to see if we can get a bigger bang for our buck in how we deliver some services. And it may be we're doing it perfectly well right now, I just don't know.
I'm with you on that. It's like, listen, if somebody's got a better mousetrap, let's see how it works.
Yep.
But don't just assume that there's a better one out there without taking that look that you've described.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in and talking to us about the Homeland Security Committee. As you can tell, he's an engaged and very competent legislator that does a great job for the country. And like I say, you jump from the frying pan into the fire when you went from the ledge branch to the Homeland Security. But you're doing a great job, and I don't know anybody that can do it better.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You bet.
Appreciate you having me.
You bet.